Ladies, there's something about silence in a relationship that people just don't understand. I mean, we live in a world where we talk all the time. We text, we call, we slide into DMs, we post on social media. We're always trying to fill every moment with noise. But when you both go silent, man, that's a whole different ball game. And a lot of folks panic when it happens because they don't realize that silence is speaking louder than anything you could say. It's telling you something about yourself, about your partner, and about the relationship you're in. And if you don't handle it right, it can be the beginning of the end. But if you do, oh man, it can be the start of something powerful. Now, let me break it down for you because I've seen this play out 1,000 times. The first thing that happens when you both go silent is reflection. And don't get it twisted. Reflection can be uncomfortable. It can make you squirm in your seat because now you're sitting there thinking about all the little things you said, all the little things you didn't say, all the ways you may have messed up. You replay conversations in your head like they're a movie, and sometimes you catch yourself thinking, man, why did I say that? Why didn't I say this? But that reflection, that's gold. That's where growth starts. That's where you start to understand your own heart and your own intentions. And your partner, they're doing the same thing. They're reflecting on you, on themselves, on everything that's happened between the two of you. That pause, that silence is giving both of you a chance to see clearly, to step back from the chaos, and to recognize what really matters. After reflection comes awareness. Now, this is where it gets tricky because awareness can be uncomfortable too. When you're quiet, you start noticing things. You notice patterns, habits, little quirks that you may have ignored before. You notice how your partner responds in certain situations, how they communicate, how they love, how they hurt. And here's the kicker, they're noticing you too. They're noticing your habits, your tendencies, the things that make you who you are. And sometimes that awareness can be scary because it shines a light on stuff that needs fixing. But it can also be beautiful because it gives you the chance to grow. If you handle it right, awareness can turn silence into a tool for building a stronger connection. It shows you what needs attention and what's already working. It gives you a roadmap if you're willing to look at it. And then comes longing. Oh, yes, I said longing. Because when the silence stretches on, something starts to happen. You begin to miss them. You start thinking about their voice, the way they laugh, the way they look at you when you're together. And it's not just about missing them physically, it's about missing the connection, the energy, the vibe you have when you're around each other. And your partner is feeling the same way. That longing is not weakness. It's a sign that there's something real there, something worth holding on to. But here's the mistake most people make. They panic and they chase. They start texting too much, calling too much, trying to force the connection. And what that does is it kills the magic. Silence is a pressure cooker for desire and appreciation. It's building a tension that's healthy if you don't mess it up. You have to let it breathe. Let the longing do its work. Let it remind both of you why you care, why you value each other, why this connection is worth fighting for. And finally, you get to the moment of choice. This is the most important part. Silence doesn't last forever. Eventually, someone has to make a move. You have to decide whether you're going to let this silence break your relationship or make it stronger. And it's not about playing games. It's not about manipulation or testing your partner. It's about using the time you've been given to understand, to grow, and to come back together with clarity. When you reach out after silence, it has to come from the heart. It has to be honest. You have to say what's on your mind, what you're feeling, what you've learned. And your partner, they're going to do the same. That's when relationships either crumble or evolve. That's when people realize the value of each other and the depth of what they share. I want you to understand something. Silence is not a threat. It's not the end of the story. It's a part of the story. It's a chapter that forces you to slow down, to pay attention, to reflect, to notice, and to recognize the things that actually matter. And if you're smart, you'll let it teach you rather than scare you. You see, most people fear silence because they fear being alone. But silence isn't being alone. Silence is listening. Silence is learning. Silence is giving your heart the space it needs to understand what it really wants. And let me tell you, when you come out of that silence, something beautiful happens. You either reconnect with new energy, new understanding, new respect, or you realize that it wasn't meant to be. And either way, you win because you've learned something. You've grown. You've been given the clarity that noise could never have provided. And that's why I always tell folks, don't fear the quiet. Don't panic when the messages stop. Don't overthink when the calls stop. Because what happens next is where the magic lives. It's where reflection turns into insight, where awareness turns into growth, where longing turns into appreciation, and where choice turns into action. That's where relationships are built or rebuilt or sometimes released. So next time you find yourself in that quiet moment with someone you care about, remember this: it's not empty, it's alive. It's working in the background, shaping your heart, shaping your connection, shaping the future of whatever it is you're building together. Silence is not something to fight, it's something to respect. It's a tool, a teacher, a mirror, and a motivator all rolled into one. And if you pay attention, if you're patient, if you handle it with care, you'll see that silence is not your enemy. It's your ally. And what happens next? That's up to you. That's where the story unfolds. That's where love shows up in ways you couldn't have imagined. That's where life proves to you that sometimes the quietest moments make the loudest impact. You ever notice how when things get quiet with someone, your mind starts running a mile a minute? I mean, you're sitting there looking at your phone, waiting for a text, waiting for a call, wondering if you said something wrong or if they're thinking about someone else. And I'm here to tell you that silence is louder than any argument, louder than any fight, louder than anything you could ever say. And most people, they panic, they rush, they overanalyze. But let me tell you something: silence is not your enemy. It's a messenger, and it's speaking truth about your relationship, about your feelings, and about your partner's heart. Now, the first thing that happens when you both go silent is that the reflection starts. You know, that deep, what just happened here feeling. And reflection can be messy. It can be uncomfortable. You start going over every conversation, every text, every little word that might have been misunderstood. You're replaying moments in your head, thinking, did I mess this up? Should I have said this differently? Maybe I should call right now. And your partner is doing the exact same thing. They're replaying your words, your actions, the things you did and didn't do. And that reflection is like a mirror. It's showing you who you are in this relationship, what you truly feel, and what you actually want. Most people are scared of reflection, but that's the first step toward clarity. It forces you to slow down, to think about your choices, and to consider how you show up for the person you care about. Then comes awareness, and I promise you, awareness can be a game changer. When the silence hits, suddenly you start noticing things you never noticed before. You notice the little habits, the little ways your partner shows love, even in the smallest gestures. You notice the things that bother you, the things that annoy you, the ways you clash, and your partner, they're noticing you too. They're seeing your patterns, your moods, the ways you react under pressure. And sometimes that awareness is uncomfortable because it shines a light on areas that need work, but it's also beautiful because it's giving you both a chance to grow. Awareness during silence is like finding a hidden map. It tells you what matters, what doesn't, and what you need to focus on if you want this relationship to last. And then, my friends, something starts to happen that's almost magical. Longing sets in. Oh, yes, longing. You start missing them in ways that texting and calling never let you feel. You miss their voice, their laughter, their presence. You start remembering the good moments, the shared memories, the inside jokes. And your partner, they're feeling it too. That longing is proof that the bond is real. It's proof that there's something worth holding on to. But here's where most people mess it up. They panic. They try to fill the silence with constant messages, constant calls, trying to chase what can't be chased. And when you do that, you kill the magic. Silence builds desire. It builds appreciation. It builds perspective. Let it breathe. Let it work its magic. Let both of you sit in that longing long enough to realize how much you care, how much you value one another, and how much this connection actually means. And eventually, you get to the moment where choice comes into play. This is the crucial part. Silence doesn't last forever. Sooner or later, someone has to act. Someone has to decide if they're going to let the quiet break the bond or make it stronger. And it's not about playing games, trying to see who reaches out first, or testing loyalty. It's about honesty. It's about understanding. It's about coming back to each other with clarity, perspective, and the willingness to communicate from the heart. When you finally break the silence, it has to be real. You have to speak your truth, and your partner has to do the same. That's when relationships are either rebuilt stronger than ever or peacefully released if they weren't meant to be. But either way, that silence has done its job. It's given both of you insight, perspective, and understanding that constant noise never could. I want you to think about this. Silence is a teacher. Silence is a test. Silence is a mirror. And most people hate it because it forces them to look at themselves, at their partner, and at the connection they share. But if you lean into it, if you respect it, if you allow it to guide you, it can change the way you love. It teaches patience, appreciation, and understanding. It forces you to stop reacting and start reflecting. And it reminds you that relationships are not about constant communication. They're about understanding, respect, and choosing to connect in meaningful ways. And listen, I've seen people in silence panic so much that they ruin what could have been something incredible. They text too much, they call too much, they demand attention, they demand answers. And what that does is it makes the relationship feel forced. It kills the natural rhythm. But when you allow silence to do its work, something amazing happens. You start to see your partner with new eyes. You start to appreciate their value, their heart, their quirks, and even the things that used to annoy you. And you start appreciating yourself too, your own patience, your own clarity, your own ability to love wisely. Silence separates the shallow connections from the meaningful ones, and it shows who's willing to do the work and who's not. So the next time you find yourself in that quiet space with someone you care about, don't panic, don't overthink, don't chase. Respect the pause, respect the reflection, respect the awareness, respect the longing, because what happens next is where the magic is. It's where understanding deepens. It's where desire grows. It's where love shows up in a way you never imagined. Silence is not the end of the story. It's the chapter that makes the next part of the story even more powerful. And if you let it, it will teach you more about yourself, about your partner, and about what you truly want than any conversation ever could. Silence has a rhythm, and if you listen carefully, it speaks volumes. It teaches patience. It encourages reflection. It ignites longing, and it sets the stage for choice. That's what happens when you both go silent. The reflection begins, awareness grows, longing emerges, and choice becomes inevitable. And what you do in that silence, that's what defines the next chapter of your relationship. It's where growth happens, where clarity comes, and where love either strengthens or fades. But the key is this: don't fear it. Don't run from it. Don't fill it with noise just to avoid it. Embrace it, respect it, and let it guide you toward a connection that's deeper, wiser, and more meaningful than ever before. You ever notice how silence in a relationship can feel heavier than any argument? I mean, it's like one day you're talking, laughing, joking, and the next day, poof, nothing, just quiet. And most people, they panic when that happens. They start scrolling their phones overthinking every word they said, everything they didn't say. But let me tell you something. Silence is not empty, it's alive. It's saying more than any conversation could ever say. And if you understand how it works, it can completely change the way you handle your relationships. The first thing that happens when both of you go silent is reflection. And let me be honest, reflection can be uncomfortable. You start thinking, did I say too much? Did I say too little? Did I mess this up? And your partner, they're doing the exact same thing. That quiet moment forces you both to look inward, to examine your own feelings and your own role in the connection. Most people run from that. Most people try to fill the silence with messages, calls, or excuses. But reflection gives you clarity. It gives you the chance to really see what you want, what you value, and how much this relationship means to you. It's uncomfortable, sure, but it's necessary. That pause, that stillness is giving your heart the room it needs to speak the truth. Then comes awareness, and awareness is powerful. When the noise disappears, suddenly you start noticing things you didn't before. The little habits your partner has, the things that make them smile, the ways they love, and even the things that frustrate you, and your partner is noticing you too. They're seeing your patterns, your reactions, your moods. Awareness is a spotlight. It shines on the parts of the relationship that need attention and the parts that are already strong. Most people fear awareness because it shows them where they've fallen short, where they need to improve. But if you use it right, awareness during silence can be the turning point. It can show you what matters, what's worth keeping, and what needs to change. And then comes longing. Oh, yes, longing, because when silence stretches, something happens naturally. You start missing them, not just their presence, but their energy, their laughter, the way they make you feel alive, and your partner, they're feeling it too. That longing is not a weakness. It's proof that something real exists between you. But here's where people mess it up. They panic. They chase. They try to fill the silence with constant texts, constant calls, trying to force a connection that can't be forced. And when you do that, you ruin the magic. Silence builds desire. It builds appreciation. It builds understanding. You've got to let it breathe, let it work its way through your hearts, and trust that what's meant to be will resurface naturally. Eventually, you reach the moment of choice. Silence doesn't last forever. Someone has to act. Someone has to decide whether to let this pause weaken the relationship or strengthen it. And it's not about games or manipulation. It's about honesty and understanding. It's about reaching out with clarity, speaking from the heart, and listening with intention. That's the moment when love either deepens or drifts apart. But here's the thing, that choice comes with the wisdom that silence provides. It comes with the clarity, the reflection, and the awareness you've gained while quiet. That's why the silence is so valuable. It prepares you for the conversation, the move, the decision in a way that constant noise never could. Silence is more than just the absence of words. It's a teacher. It's a mirror. It's a chance to see yourself, your partner, and your relationship in ways you might never have before. Most people fear it because it forces them to sit with their own feelings, to confront the truth, to wait. But waiting isn't weakness. Sitting in that quiet is strength, it's patience, it's respect. Respect for the other person and respect for the bond you share. Silence separates those connections that are fleeting from those that are meaningful. It forces you to look at what you're really feeling, what your partner is really feeling, and what you both want moving forward. And when you finally break that silence, something incredible happens. You reconnect with a deeper understanding, a renewed appreciation, and a fresh perspective. You realize the value of the person across from you, the weight of their love, and the beauty of your shared connection. Silence builds that. It forces you to grow individually and together. And the magic is that it doesn't just show what's wrong, it also shows what's right. It reminds you why you care, why you're invested, and why the relationship is worth it. but you've got to handle it right. You can't feel silence with panic or overcompensation. You can't chase it or try to manipulate it. You have to respect it. Let it teach you. Let it work its way through your heart and your mind. Listen to it. Sit with it. Use it to understand what's important and what's not. That's what the silence is for. That's what it's saying when both of you go quiet. It's preparing you for the next step, for the next choice, for the next conversation. It's building patience, understanding, and desire. So next time silence hits, don't fear it. Don't overreact. Don't try to fill it with constant noise. Lean into it. Reflect. Notice. Feel. And when the time comes to speak, speak from that place of awareness and understanding. That's when the relationship shows its real strength. That's when love grows in a way words alone could never make happen. That's what happens when you both go silent, hearts reflect, eyes open, desire grows, and the choice becomes clear. Let me tell you something about silence in a relationship, because most people don't understand it. 1 minute you're talking, laughing, sharing stories, and the next it's quiet, dead quiet. No messages, no calls, no energy exchange. And that's when most folks start panicking. They start overthinking everything they said or didn't say, wondering if they've done something wrong, or worse, imagining all sorts of scenarios in their head. But I'm here to tell you, silence is not empty. It's loud, it's powerful, it's saying things that words could never say. And if you know how to read it, it can completely change the way you approach your relationship. The first thing that happens in silence is reflection. You start thinking about yourself, your actions, your words, your emotions. You replay conversations in your mind, wondering, did I overreact? Did I say too much? Did I not say enough? And your partner is doing the same thing. That quiet moment is a mirror, showing you what you need to work on, what you value, and what this relationship really means to you. Most people run from reflection. Most people try to fill the space with messages, calls, or social media distractions. But reflection is a gift. It gives your heart and your mind the space to see clearly, to understand what you truly want, and to recognize the real connection you share with the other person. Then comes awareness. Silence brings awareness in a way that constant talking never can. When the noise disappears, you start noticing things about your partner you didn't before. The little habits, the ways they show love, the quirks that make them unique. You notice how they handle conflict, how they respond to stress, the little gestures they make that show they care. And your partner is noticing you too. Awareness is like a spotlight shining on the relationship, showing you both what's working and what isn't. And sometimes it's uncomfortable because it shows the areas that need improvement, but it's also beautiful because it gives you the chance to grow. Awareness during silence can strengthen a relationship in ways that conversation alone cannot. And then something natural happens. Longing, that quiet, that pause brings clarity to your heart. You start missing the sound of their voice, the warmth of their presence, the energy they bring to your life. And your partner is feeling the same thing. That longing isn't a weakness. It's proof that the connection is real. It's proof that what you have matters. But most people mishandle longing. They panic. They chase. They bombard their partner with messages and calls, trying to force connection. And when you do that, you ruin the power of silence. Longing is what makes appreciation grow. It reminds you why you value the person, why you care, and why the relationship is worth holding on to. You have to respect it, let it work, and trust that what's real will endure. Eventually, you come to the moment of choice. Silence doesn't last forever. Sooner or later, someone has to act. Someone has to decide whether to let the quiet weaken the relationship or let it strengthen it. And it's not about playing games or testing each other. It's about honesty, about speaking from the heart, about approaching the situation with clarity and intention. That's the point when love either deepens or drifts apart. And that choice is guided by everything that silence has taught you: reflection, awareness, and longing. Without those lessons, the choice could be reckless, emotional, or short sighted. With them, the choice is intentional, wise, and full of purpose. Silence is a teacher, it's a test, it's a mirror, and most people run from it because it forces them to confront their own feelings, to slow down, and to sit with the truth. But sitting in silence is strength, not weakness. It teaches patience, appreciation, and understanding. It allows both of you to see each other clearly